Great. Well, thank you all for joining us here at Cheverly Town Hall on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Of course, we're here to hear from our special guest, our interim state's attorney, Tara Jackson. We will get to that very quickly. I'm Micah Watson. I'm the mayor, and I want to thank all of you for coming out and give a special thanks to the town staff who made this event possible and did all the preparations so that we could have this engagement today. I think our interim state's attorney is and her team are going to give a brief introduction, and then I believe if we're all on our best behavior, she's happy to take a few questions and hear some concerns from the Cheverly community. So, ma'am, I want to first present you some souvenirs from the town of Cheverly, some lucrative T-shirts and a Cheverly pin. So thank you for coming to visit. Yeah. And then I want to call up and at the same time thank Joel Lang. His discussion group was really the impetus for this event. Without his work, we would not be coming together regularly to discuss the topics and interests that are concerned to the community. So without further ado, a many-decade resident of Cheverly, Mr. Joel Lang.
Hi, thank you for coming, all of you. It's good to see a decent crowd. It's my pleasure to introduce Tara H. Jackson, who's been appointed as interim state's attorney for Prince George's County. She's succeeding Aisha Braveboy, who has transitioned to the role of county executive for Prince George's County. Ms. Jackson will serve in this position for the next 18 months and then will stand for re-election. As our local police chief always says, he said every police chief is an interim police chief. So before becoming acting county executive, Ms. Jackson served as County Chief Administrative Officer in December 2020, guiding Prince George's County through our COVID-19 epidemic. Her 20-year or so journey in public service began as a prosecutor in the state's attorney's office. Then, after 8 years of private practice, litigating criminal, civil, and administrative cases, she returned to public service as, and I have to read these carefully because they're confusing, Principal Deputy State's Attorney, and then Deputy County Attorney, and then Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Government Operations under County Executive Alsobrooks. Did I get that right? Yes. Ms. Jackson earned a bachelor's degree from James Madison University and her Juris Doctor from the University of Maryland School of Law, and then a Master's of Divinity in Leadership Development from Phoenix Seminary. As interim state's attorney, Tara Jackson is well qualified for this position and remains steadfast in her mission to make a positive, lasting impact on Prince George's County. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Tara Jackson.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon. I'm so pleased to be here with you all this afternoon. And you'll see me take my glasses on and off because I'm still trying to figure out when I need them. But, a lot of positions that you read in that bio. But the bottom line is I've been serving in the government for quite a while now in different positions across the government, and I've just had the honor really of serving the residents of Prince George's County, and I want to continue to do that. And I say I've come home because I started in the state's attorney's office in this county, as you heard, in 1996. And then, so I've served 10 years in the state's attorney's office. So this really is home for me, and I'm so happy to be serving. Thank you, Mayor, for having me. Thank you to the town manager, Galloway, for having me as well, Mr. Chief. Thank you for your partnership. And certainly I'll be introducing my team in a moment. But, you know, I just wanted to, I'm going to try to do like an introductory tour around the county to the extent that I can, because I want to hear from you. As I move around our office, the state's attorney's office, we've got about 100 prosecutors, and then of course support staff, administrative staff, and people keep asking me, what are your priorities? What are you looking to do? Well, of course I know we want to fight crime. I'm considered the chief law enforcement officer in the county, so I know we want to fight crime. But as I put together my strategies, right, for the office, I need to hear from our residents in the community. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm here, not only to educate you around an issue that we're seeing, but also to hear from you. And so I hope we have some time at the end, just so that, and I'm sure you'll be on good behavior, Mayor, just so that I can hear what's on your hearts and minds as it relates to crime in our county. So many issues. I'm glad that crime is going down. Year over year, we're down from where we were. It's certainly in total crime, in carjackings, in homicides, but we've still got a lot of work to do across the county. And I am very committed to partnering with our law enforcement partners. I just met actually with all of the municipal chiefs. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. I met with the municipal chiefs just to talk to them about what they're seeing in our communities. So just happy to be here. Let me say, I'm going to introduce the team that I have with me. Joel Patterson is one of the chiefs of one of our units in the state's attorney's office, and Joel will tell you a little bit more about that. And then Ed is Layden, am I pronouncing that, Layden, correctly, is a member of that unit as well. And then we have, and the name is going to escape me, I apologize, but one of our fine members of the Prince George's County Police Department, Corliss, right? Corliss, Sergeant Corliss, who is working with us in the area of financial crimes. I wanted to come and speak specifically to you about financial crimes because I've been here about maybe 53 days, something like that in this role. And what I noticed really even before coming to the office is because I have a cell phone, and I noticed that we are constantly receiving solicitations, if you will, and I'm going to call them criminal solicitations, across our cell phones and across the internet on our emails. And people are asking for money, and they're saying, look, you got to move quickly, and if you don't move quickly, you're going to lose your home, you're going to lose your money, you're going to lose your license. And unfortunately, so many of our residents are falling prey to those scams. And it's not because we're not educated. It's not because, we don't know how to read. It's because we don't want to lose our license, or, we're concerned about paying our bills in a timely manner. And so when the person on the other end of the cell phone says, rush to do this, or you're going to have this type of consequence, we rush to do it. And so I'm here, if there's any takeaway from me today, it is to say, when you receive, and you'll hear more about the types of scams that we're seeing in the county, where people are, by the way, losing not hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars in some instances, but in some instances, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I'm here to just say, stop for a moment. If you get something that says Easy Pass, and you haven't paid the Easy Pass bill, stop for a moment. That's right, just say, that's ridiculous, right? Just stop for a moment and understand that probably any kind of communication that you're getting that's saying that you need to do something quickly, you need to provide information quickly, you need to send money quickly, any kind of communication like that, it's likely a scam. Right? And this is personal to me because my parents, who don't live in Prince George's County, are getting up in age, and folks are after them, right? And they're not remembering as much as they used to, and I'm constantly having to say to my mother and my father, look, don't respond to that. Please don't send them your information. Please, please, please. It is not true. They are trying to take advantage of you. And it's not just through the phones and over your computer, but folks are also coming to your homes in some instances and saying that they represent government agencies, utility companies, and the like, and trying to get into your homes. So we're just here to make you aware, and I'm going to turn it over to the team that deals with these on a very regular basis. Joel, I'll turn it over to you. And then I would love to come back up and hear from you just generally, anything that you would like to tell the state's attorney about your concerns. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So, like Madam State's Attorney said, I am Joel Patterson. I am the chief of our Special Prosecutions Unit. And one of the things that we prosecute is financial crimes. That's anything related to fraud, to theft by deception, any of those texts or email scams that we all get. We're the people who get involved once the crime has actually occurred. Sergeant Corliss and his team bring us those cases, and then we do everything that we can to get that money back and get it back to our victims. But part of what we're here to do today is make sure that we have fewer victims, because really, these things can be avoided. But like Madam State's Attorney said, this happens to everyone. I get these calls, I get these text messages, I get these emails all the time. And I think so often we focus on our seniors in our community and the elders in our community, but statistically, this happens to younger folks way more often than it does to our seniors. People in their 20s, people in their 30s, click on these links and make these phone calls far more than our senior citizens do. They just haven't had the benefit of working their entire lives and saving money as much as our seniors have. So while the younger people in our communities are being victimized, they're losing a lot less. So the cases that we hear about in the news where hundreds of thousands of dollars are taken, those are being taken from a senior citizen who worked 50 years and retired, and that impact just makes so much more noise, and so we pay a lot more attention to those cases. But this happens to everyone. The other thing that Madam State's Attorney touched on that I really want to emphasize is the red flag. When these calls happen, when these emails come through, the text messages come through, they are really, really good at what they do. I think a lot of times we read in the news, oh, somebody lost $300,000, and who would do that? Who would take $300,000 out of the bank and turn it over to somebody who showed up at their front door? But these people are very, very good at what they do. This is what they do for a living. They're compelling. And they're compelling because they know how people act, how people think, and they prey on that. First, they use time. They will tell you, you have to act quickly. We don't have time to stop and think. You don't have time to call your bank. You don't have time to take a breath and figure out what's going on. They're going to try to scare you. They're going to tell you you're losing your house, that the police are on their way to your house to arrest you right now because you have an open warrant, that your Easy Pass is expired and your license is about to be revoked unless you act right this second. They're going to make it impossible for you to take a breath and think. They're going to make it impossible for you to try to take some time. And then, once you're scared, once you feel like you don't have time, they offer you hope. They tell you, but I can fix it. Just give me the money and I will take care of that warrant. Give me the money and I'll make sure that your license won't get revoked. Give me the money and I'll make sure that it's safe in another bank account. It's a really, really effective way of getting somebody to do something that they would not otherwise do. And usually as soon as it's over, the person has a moment to take a breath, has a moment to think, and thinks, wait, I'm not sure that was the right thing to do. Then they call the police and then we get involved. These people are very good at what they do, and I think so often there's a stigma that goes along with becoming the victim of one of these crimes, and there really shouldn't be, because these people are professionals. It happens to everyone. Our seniors, our young folks, everyone can be victimized by these schemes, and they're very effective because these people know what they're doing, and they do it a lot. We've all gotten those text messages. Thousands of them go out every day. It only takes one person to click the link. It only takes one person to make the phone call back, and then they start the next process. We are going to talk some more about some specific schemes. We are going to talk some more about some specific schemes that we'll see, but I just wanted to highlight those red flags. If you've got somebody who is calling you and telling you that they're the ones that can fix your problem, that's a red flag. We have to watch out for that. And we're going to give you some information here. If you believe that you might be targeted by one of these scams, call us. I'll leave my business cards here. You can call me. We'll give you some information on how to contact the Prince George's County Police Department, but contact us. We'll look into it. I think for me, I've got two small children, school-age kids, and all of the parents, we text with each other. I'm that guy on our text chain who people send me the scams and they say, hey, is this real? I get those screenshots. And I think for me, the easiest way to determine that something isn't real is when the MVA is sending you a text message from a Miami area code. Our MVA doesn't do that. One, our MVA doesn't send out text messages, they'll send you mail. But if you're getting a text message or a phone call from somebody here locally in the DMV, and the area code is from North Dakota or Miami or California, that's not real. And so typically right away what I'll do is just check that area code. I think I got one last week from a friend and the area code was in Indonesia. Definitely not real. That person was not from the Treasury Department. That was an easy one to rule out. But if you look at the area code often, that's a quick way to realize this isn't legitimate, and just mark it, delete it, don't respond, don't click on it. And we'll talk about some more of the scams that I think we're going to see here in just a minute. Do we want to just introduce everybody through, or? Yeah. Ed, do you want to come and talk about some of the scams that you see? This is Ed Layden. He is one of my most distinguished ASAs in our team, and he has done a lot of talks like this and prosecuted a lot of these cases for many, many years.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Madam State.
Examples.
Absolutely. You know, we talked about seniors, and there's a reason for that because, as you're hearing, a disproportionate number of our victims happen to be seniors, and there's a reason for that. As you heard Joel say, these are professionals. What do? They see us as seniors, as having two aspects that are useful for their criminal activities. One, we've worked our entire lives, we've managed to be frugal, we've managed to put a few bucks aside, and they see that as a pool of opportunity. Two, their perception is that because we are getting on in years, we are slipping, we're not quite as sharp as we used to be, and we're just easy prey. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that you have the agency to protect yourself. Yes, it is true, we may have missed a step or two, but we still have enough to kick their behinds. And we are capable of doing that. And that is our purpose, is to give you the agency, to remind you, you have the God-given ability that you have had since you were born onto this earth to control your own destiny, and that includes your financial destiny. So you do that by taking proactive steps. Our job today is not to scare you. Our job is to empower you, to give you confidence, to go forward and fight this fight. And here's how you do it. One, there are a number of schemes. One of them, and it's very cutely named, it's called a pigeon drop scheme. Has anybody ever heard of the pigeon drop scheme? Does anybody know what a pigeon is? Well, in the vernacular of a criminal, a pigeon is a mark. It's a target. Now, you don't know that because you're not criminals. But if you were, what they do is this. Let's say you're coming out of the Giant on 450 or one of the other, Walmart, for example, out there. I think that's one of the stores that serves your community. And you'll have a gentleman come up to you and say, look what I have here. And he will show you a shopping bag or some other, even a briefcase. And in this briefcase, he's going to show you a whole lot of cash. And I'm here to tell you, the first layers that you see are real cash. The rest of it, you know what? It's fugazi. It's fake money. It's literally fake money, not even counterfeit money. It's fake money because it says on it, this is fake money. It has it written on it. But they don't tell you that. They say, look, this is what I found. I'll be delighted to share this with you. And it looks like $100,000, $300,000. And I'll split it with you, but you've got to show your good faith. So here's what we're going to do. I'll go to my bank. I'll take out some money. You go to your bank. You take out some money. And we'll both pool it together. And that way we know that we both have good faith. And I know you're not here to rip me off. So they go around the corner, and they may go to a bank. It appears they are, but they're really not. And then they come back and they say, okay, let's go to your bank. And sometimes they'll be very aggressive, and they'll get in the car with you. And by the way, they're always accompanied by someone else who just happens to appear upon the scene to provide verification, to say, oh, yes, somebody seemingly unrelated who's not, who is part of the scam. And they'll get in the car with you too. And you'll go to the bank and they'll say, go take out money. And you say, how much? You'll say, well, you know, this is a lot of money here. So what's it worth to you? $10,000, $15,000, $30,000? And people go into the bank and they take the money and you come out with your cash. Sometimes the bank teller or the bank manager will push back, sometimes not. But nevertheless, you come out with that cash and they'll say, oh, great. Okay, here's what we'll do. We'll take that cash and we'll give you the big load because we trust you now. You've proven your worth. You've proven that you have good faith. And they'll leave you with this bag. And guess what will be in the bag? You'll be stuck with a bunch of useless paper, and they'll have your $30,000. And you know what else they'll have? They'll probably have asked your address. They'll probably have asked you, they're going to look at your driver's license, and they'll know where you live. And they're going to try to contact you again. And there's a very simple way to avoid being taken in by that. And what is it? When you have somebody come up to you like that, you tell them, no, get away from me, Satan be gone. and you don't have to worry about being rude. You don't have to worry about being impolite, because these people aren't here as friends. They are here to commit a crime against you. And that applies across the board, even in terms of these phone calls and even in terms of emails. You don't have an obligation to take every phone call that comes on that phone. So remember that. It's okay to be rude. All right? You have permission from the office. Be rude. Be nasty if need be. But push them away. Be gone. Be gone. Now, how many people shop online? I'll bet you we all go on to Amazon. We go on to every service there is. How many of us use a debit card to do this? How many use a credit card? All right, you credit card users, you win. Here is why. What happens when you use a debit card? The money comes right out of your account, doesn't it? It's right gone. And now, you may be able to, in fact, you probably will be able to go back to your bank, and they will, because they value you as a customer, probably reimburse you. But they don't have to. They're not legally obligated, and they tell us that, because we go to them too to try to get your money back. And they will hem and they will haw. And they don't have a legal obligation. Now, compare that to a credit card. What is a credit card transaction? It's a contract, isn't it? You're agreeing that when I get my bill next month on the 15th, I will pay American Express or Discover or who have you. But it's a contract. And if there's a supervening event, a superseding event that overrides that, well, your contractual obligations are obviated. So if you found out this was a ripoff, or even if you didn't like the thing you bought from Amazon, you can undo that transaction much, much more quickly. So always use the credit card. Never use the debit card. Going to the post office. How many of us still mail checks? We all put it in an envelope and put it in a mailbox. We all do that from time to time. Sometimes it's better to do it electronically, but that's okay. We all live our lives, and it's okay to mail a check. How many put them in a blue box on the corner in front of the post office? All right. Do you know how many blue boxes there are in this country? There must be millions. Wouldn't you agree? How many individual keys, that is, unique keys, do you think there are for those blue boxes all around the country? Well, there must be thousands, right? Not so. There is one single key. It's called an arrow key. And do you think that those arrow keys have not gotten into the hands of criminals? Of course they have. And we know they go into those blue boxes. We know they take out just handfuls and loads of checks, of envelopes. We open them. We know they whitewash them. What do? They take your check to Verizon, change it to their name as the payee. The dollar amount, the $200, well, that gets changed to $2,000 or maybe $20,000 if they think they can get away with it. And that comes right out of your account. And yes, that's rectifiable. An easy way to minimize that risk, just go into the post office. Just go into the slot and put it into the slot. Now, two final things. One, gift cards, cryptocurrency. I've been practicing law for many, many, many years in every venue that you can think of. I will tell you this. There is not a governmental entity. There is not a law enforcement agency. There is not a law firm, a lawyer, a paralegal on the face of this earth who is going to ask you to pay them in gift cards. It just doesn't happen. Nor, unless you're dealing at the top levels with Elon Musk, are they going to ask you to pay with cryptocurrency. And to, God forbid, go to one of these machines and put your good hard-earned cash in there to convert it into some coin of some sort. That doesn't happen. And you have a red flag there. If anybody hints at you they want to be compensated in the form of cryptocurrency, if they want to be compensated gift cards, you may as well. That's the equivalent of saying, I am a criminal and I am here to rip you off. All right? So remember that. Nobody will ever, who is legitimately not a criminal and not actively trying to rip you off, will ever do that. Finally, and this is something that one of the saddest things that we find at our office is families, after mom has died, after things have started to settle down, who come to us with disputes within the family about the estate. My brother, my sister, did this, did that to mom, and they can think of nothing that would give them greater solace than for us to put their brother in jail. There's a way to forestall that. Now, while your brain is still working, while you're still in full control, is the time to do a power of attorney. It's the time to draft your will. And in fact, you can take that will, you can register it at the Register of Wills, which is right up in Upper Marlboro in the same building as we are, and you can register that for a very expensive sum. You know what the sum is? $5. $5, Mr. Mayor, not even $10. $5. And the people there are the most lovely, kind, considerate, compassionate people you will ever meet in government service, other than the state's attorney's office. So that's something to bear. And people say, well, but what about probate? Oh, yeah. Well, there is one very completely foolproof way to avoid probate. You know what it is? Never die. Other than that, you will not have this. It's the kind of things you can take forward in your life. So, with that said, we will open the floor. Well, you'll hear from Sergeant Corliss, and you'll hear from the state's attorney, and we will be more than glad to hear any questions you have. But please leave this empowered, confident, and ready to take on the world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sergeant Corliss, Prince George's County Police Department, our financial crimes unit that also handles both sides, the cyber side and the financial side. But at the end of the day, it's all related to taking people's money, right? So a couple of things I just want to provide you with is some prevention tips and red flags to look out for. Red flags is, one, do not rush to give away your money. The bad actors are masterful at creating a sense of urgency. And also creating a sense of the idea of secrecy. Do not tell your friends, do not tell your family. They're going to even walk you to the bank while you're on the cell phone and tell you do not tell the bank teller. And most banks' protocol is when you withdraw a large amount of money, you meet a criteria, they're going to ask you certain questions. So the point of them staying on the phone is to make sure that you don't answer those questions, which will flag and have them call the authorities. So hang up, call a friend, call your local law enforcement agency, and ask for assistance. One thing that's extremely important to know is your personal information is no longer personal. These guys can purchase your social security number, your name, your date of birth, your address online or an app for $10. So when they call you and they say they're from your bank, they're going to give you, the background is going to sound like they're in a call center, and they're going to give you your information to provide that trust as if you would if your bank is calling. So one, your banks don't call you giving you your information, okay? So, and if you feel like the concern that your account is compromised, which we want you to have that awareness, but hang up, either go to your bank or call the number on the back of your card. Do not call the number that texts you or call the number that you see on your screen. If you're Googling support, whether it's from Microsoft, Apple, or your bank, we ask that you scroll down. Usually the top couple of links are sponsored or paid by bad actors. So it looks like their website, it feels like their website. That 1-800 number looks like their number, may just be one number off. So don't pay attention to that. We prefer you look on the back of your card, but if you have to go online, to just scroll down until you get below like the sponsored and paid advertisements. A couple other things, there's that sense of urgency. Do not give away your password. We're seeing a lot of bad actors who have gained access to your account, and they just need that authentication code. So they're going to call you, and they're going to give you, say that they're from the bank that you're from, and they're going to give you your name and date of birth, and they're going to say, we just sent you an authentication code. We need that code. That code is not designed for you to give out. That code is for you to use when you're logging into your account. So if they're calling you and asking for that number, hang up, contact your bank, because they probably already have gained access, alert your bank and let them secure your account. And then they'll either notify us or you can notify the police as well. If you get those text messages, IC3.gov and FTC.gov are your two websites where you can report that information, and they forward the reports to the law enforcement agency whenever it piles up. And then finally, one of the major things that we're seeing is do not be afraid to report it. Every report matters to us, right? Dollar amount is not a thing. If it's $10, if it's $200, if it's $300,000, every report matters, because what one person tells us could be the other piece of the puzzle that we're missing for the other 10 reports that came in from your community. So we encourage you to call your police. We have our website on pgpolice.org that you can report online. We see those reports every morning, and then we'll reach out to you to gather as much information as we can. And I think that's all I have. Oh, sorry, one more thing, sorry, courier cases. Thanks, Joel. Courier cases are attached to our tech and impersonation scams. So when I say that is what we're seeing is an increase of bad actors who pretend to be the FTC, pretend to be your sheriff's department or the Treasury Department, and they call you and they convince you that they need to secure your money, and a courier is coming to pick up large amounts of cash, or gift cards, or gold bars. If you hear gold bars, hang up, call the police, okay? So one of the things that they're really good at, and we're seeing they're changing their methods because they know that we're onto them, is they are going to check in with you daily. They're going to assign you what they call a caseworker or a case manager. They're also going to promise an increase in investment and interest. So your money is not only, the government's not only securing your money, but you're making money from that. All that is wrong. The government is not going to call you. We're not going to pick up cash. Even if the government sends you a bill, it's okay, they can wait, call, get verified, and just make sure you talk to a trusted official and a family member and a friend to process this with somebody. That's how we're seeing our wins. Families talking to other family and friends, and they're saying that's not right, and usually it's the friend calling us and saying, hey, my friend's going through this, help, and then we're there for you, okay?
And I think before I take questions, Joel has one more scam that we're seeing that I'd like for him to make you aware of.
So the other one, the one we haven't talked about, and there are lots, but one that we're seeing a lot in the area right now is a Pepco employee who is not a Pepco employee will show up, and they'll have the bright yellow vest on, and they'll let you know that your panel sent an alarm to Pepco and they just need to come in and check it. They'll come in and check it. They'll go down to the basement, they'll go to wherever the panel is, they'll look at it, and they'll come back and say, yeah, you got a problem. We have to update this, but we can do it for $9,000, we can do it for $10,000, $5,000. Cut me a check today, and I will have someone from Pepco contact you. Somebody from the scheduling department will be in touch with you, and we'll get this all sorted out. You cut the check, they leave. You call the number, somebody comes back to do the work. Oh, but $10,000, that was just a down payment. We need another $5,000 to do the work. You cut them the check. And again, they're going to look very professional. They're going to have the vests on. They're going to look and sound like they're from Pepco. They're going to ask for more money. Obviously, there's no work that's actually being done. They're not from Pepco. These people are very, very credible. They're going to say sir, they're going to say ma'am, they're going to be polite, they're going to be persuasive. They're going to tell you that if they don't get this fixed right away, your house might burn down because the panel is in a bad way. It's not the way that this works. Don't let somebody into your house until you know that who they are. Ask to see their Pepco badge number. Look to see whether or not they came in a big Pepco truck, because if they came in an unmarked white van, that's not Pepco. And if you have concerns about whether or not there is a problem with your panel, if there's concerns about whether or not there's an electricity problem with your house, call Pepco. Don't call the number they give you, call Pepco and ask them, hey, do you have people working in the neighborhood? Did you send somebody out to our house to check an issue? They're going to tell you no. But again, there's going to use that sense of fear, that sense of urgency, and then the hope of, we can fix this problem, your house won't burn down. It's different schemes, but they all play out the exact same way. But the Pepco one is one that we've seen a couple of times over like the last month. So if you see something like that, please call us at the Prince George's County Police Department, call the state's attorney's office, and we'll be happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate it. I just want to highlight one thing before I change the subject, if you all would like to change the subject, and that is that some people are embarrassed to report. They feel some way about, oh, I should have caught that, and I did not. Please, 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 whether it's you or a friend, there is no need whatsoever to be embarrassed. And we want to know about these bad actors that are out there, and the way we know is because you report, because your friend reports, your family member reports. And so I just really I'm trying to spread the word that there's nothing to be embarrassed about. They're trying to harm you, right? It's just like you would report a physical crime that was, that happened to you. We want to report the financial crimes as well. So thank you so much to the team. I don't know what my time looks like, but I am certainly here if you have any questions of us regarding financial schemes, if you have any questions of me, just as your new state's attorney, I'm happy to answer those questions as well to the best of my ability. Yes, sir.
When I moved into my house years ago, there was a sign. Thank you. I'm sorry for that. I didn't address it.
Oh, please, no. Not at all. Just want to hear your concern.
So years ago, when I purchased my house here, my previous owner had put a no solicitation sign at the front door, right? So the question I have is, if I'm solicited with a sign that says no solicitations, is there any legal standing for that? Can I actually put something like that on my property that says, I don't want people like you at coming to my door to solicit anything?
Well, I mean, I certainly think you can. You can put a no solicitation sign on your door. I'll say this, and then if anybody else has any thoughts, anything to try and deter criminals. But, I also know that there's some good people that knock on our doors as well, right? Whether it's, I don't know, Girl Scouts don't knock on doors, but I don't think anymore. But say it again. Online now for Girl Scouts. Okay, I see them at the store sometimes. It's
Right.
up to you, really. I mean, I think if you feel like that will help deter the bad actors, I think it's perfectly okay to do that.
There's nothing legal about it, correct? You can't say, hey, get off my property, it's a trespassing zone.
Well, certainly if they're on your property and you don't invite them on your property and they will not leave, then that's a trespassing issue, and that's a crime for sure.
All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, my question is it a crime to try to scam someone, or is it only a crime if they actually get something from you?
It depends on how far you go in the process of trying to scam, but it definitely is it's an attempt crime, attempt to commit fraud, attempt to commit whatever the underlying crime is, yes. So again, that's why we want to know, even if you didn't fall victim to it and you didn't actually give money, you should definitely let us know. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So just if I got a letter in the mail saying that I owed some taxes, and I'm thinking, I know I paid those taxes, and I put it aside, and if it turns out it's real, then how am I, what are my steps going forward? How's a good way to handle that if I'm really sure that whatever this bill was, that I took care of it?
You can, but let me just say this. I always, right, attempt to authenticate or verify in another way. Right? And so I think that it's perfectly acceptable if you get, and I think you should, if you get a letter in the mail and it seems iffy to you, see if there's, and maybe not even use that number that's on. I wouldn't even use the number that's on the document, but find another way to communicate with whatever that agency is and find out, did I in fact receive, did you send me a letter that's saying that I owe X, you can call the IRS. We know how to get in touch with the IRS. So there's a way to reach out to them. But I always believe in authenticating in multiple ways before you respond. Did you have a?
Yes, Madam State's Attorney. I would just point out, if it's from the Internal Revenue Service, there is a wonderful body called the Office of the Taxpayer Advocate. And who that advocates for is you as a taxpayer. They're in every jurisdiction. There's one here in Maryland. There's one, of course, in D.C. Reach out to them if you have any questions along those lines. They'll be your advocate within the Internal Revenue Service. It's the Office of Taxpayer Advocate. OTA, they call themselves within the service. And in fact, the chief of the Office of Taxpayer Advocate is on a par with the commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service. They are meant as an ombudsman. And not only can they verify that this is actually a tax debt, but they can help in terms of making sure that your rights are protected and that you're not faced with hardship, because that's something the Internal Revenue Service really does not want to cause, believe it or not. So that's what I would say. If you get something like that, go to the OTA. That's what they are there for. And the Ombudsman with the Office of the Comptroller here in Maryland does a similar function. So don't be afraid. Don't be frightened by things like that. That's what the criminals are counting on, you being that sense of urgency that Sergeant Corliss and Joel both mentioned. And that's how they get it. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. Oh, online. All right. Wonderful. I didn't even know we were online. Hello. Is home title protection worth purchasing? Anybody feel like they're able to answer that question?
When I get questions like that, I say I'm not allowed to give legal advice.
That's a little difficult. I mean, I think, I certainly have title insurance. But this one is a little, I think, beyond what it is that we handle in the state's attorney's office. But definitely I would speak with a financial advisor, or if you feel I'm assuming you asked the question because maybe you feel as if you're being scammed in some way. I think it's never, I think you should reach out. If you feel like in some way you're being victimized, if it relating to your home, definitely reach out to the police department, even to our office, and we'll kind of hear the facts of the case and then be able to direct you to the appropriate place. So I'm sorry I didn't answer your question directly, but I don't want to give you the wrong answer and advise you on how to spend your money. Yes, sir.
I saw an ad on TV just last night that dealt with this issue. And what they tried to scare you into doing to buy this was because someone would falsify or somehow sign a quitclaim deed, take possession of your property, and then take out a mortgage on your property, and you would not know anything about it. It seems really remote that that could possibly happen. Would you address that?
Have you seen it? Go ahead. Go ahead, Joel.
I can speak to that. So I don't know if I was just born this way or if it's because I've been working in this unit for so long. I'm a very paranoid person. And I absolutely got one of those services that sort of keeps an eye on your Social Security number, on your credit cards, on my mortgage online. And so if it notices that I am suddenly taking out a loan or taking out a mortgage, I get a notice. I get an email that says, hey, we found that you put in a credit application. If this isn't you, you can follow up on it. I think that the best thing to do is just to be vigilant, to be observant, and if you notice that there's a loan that has shown up in your name, you can address that legally once the bad actor has done something. And I think that the best way is just to keep an eye on your finances. Notice if there's fluctuations in your finances, if you get a credit check every so often, if you notice that there's a wide range, if something happens to your credit score, we can follow up with that. But I know that there are several services. They don't cost a whole lot, but they monitor your personal information. They start showing up for loans, for your Social Security number getting hit, then you'll get an alert, and then you can act appropriately after that.
Thank you, Joel. So other than, what, did you have a question, sir? Yes.
Do you ever have any criminal trials on these financial scams, and can we as citizens go? And how do we find out?
Absolutely. You know, go ahead. Did you have a?
I was going to say, Matt, we just had a trial last week.
You want to, well, you want to tell them about it quickly?
Sure.
But let me answer the question. Yes, you can go to the courthouse. We used to have something called Community in the Courthouse, where we invited people into the courthouse and would advise of certain types of trials. If you're interested in us sending, and I hope I'm not, my team's going to have to figure out how to work this out, how to send dockets regularly so that people are at least aware of the types of crimes that are occurring. I mean, we've got a few murder trials going on right now in the courthouse for sure. But in terms of financial crimes, let's figure out, because I'd love to have you all come into the courthouse, because that's another way to educate. So yeah, we'll talk about it and figure out how we can do that.
Yes, thank you, Madam State's Attorney. Yeah, we had a trial last week. A gentleman who went online, he was looking to buy a vehicle, and he came across a vehicle he liked. It happened to be a Rolls Royce, and he wired money, $26,000 of it, to what he thought was an entity that he thought was in Texas. It actually turned out to be in Seattle, Washington, or Everett, Washington. And the detectives who work with Sergeant Carlos assiduously went through the wire transfer, were able to identify the recipient. And we brought him back here, put him on trial before Judge Alves, before a jury of 12. And last Wednesday, that jury of 12 found him guilty of theft of $26,000, which in ours is $25,000 to $100,000, which is a 15-year felony. So yes, we do have those trials. We love to have people come. They're not as fun as murder trials, but we still like to have people there.
Yeah, depending on what you think is fun, right? Yeah. Actually, I did poke my head in that courtroom, so I remember him testifying. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Can you please advise us what we can do for constant solicitations coming in on your text messages, and how do we distinguish what's legitimate and not? And most of them are politically related, but how can we determine if that's really the candidate that you think it is, and then when we report it, delete and stop, it never happens. It's a continuation. It happens on the telephone, on the text message. So you have any advice for what we can do about that?
Any thoughts? There are so many political messages I know that do come, and you say stop to one, and then you get another. And so any thoughts on who to go to if you just don't want to be bothered with it at all?
If you know how to make it stop, please.
Yeah, I'm not aware, because it's not criminal if they are, certainly for them to send political messages. They get somehow, and I'm in a political office, so people get your numbers and they want to reach out to you. But it is the law that they have to advise you that you can ask for them to stop sending you messages. That's true. That's true. That's true. So I would say if you're not comfortable, and I hope I don't get myself in trouble here, but I think the name of the game is if you're not comfortable, because I know you send money. We all send money via I think the service is called Act Blue. They're like legitimate services that elected officials use in order to solicit funds. And there are legitimate services, but if you're concerned, I think ask the question, And so, but we don't deal with those too often. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a friend in Cottage City who also lost his federal job, and so could be here asking his question for himself, but I will make sure he regrets
You're a friend,
that.
yes.
He has parents in Florida, one of whom has lost, the entire padding of their life savings to scams. He's had multiple conversations, cannot explain that, this is bad and these are scams and can you please stop? His mother is, of course, losing her memory, right? And they're kind of on their own. So one little story and two questions. One, so the stepfather was asked to wire $30,000, and he went to the local bank, his bank, and the bank said no. Yay, thank you, bank. So he took all his money out, went across the street, went to another bank, and that bank said yes. So I'm wondering if there are any resources for us to help make sure that the people we love have their money in banks that will say no. And then secondly, since he is in Florida, do you think that it's a similar situation where he should reach out to the Florida State Attorney?
Absolutely, he should reach out to law enforcement in Florida. Absolutely. Yeah. No question about it. Banks, do you have any information about kind of what the rules are as it relates to what banks can and cannot do? So for instance, I know as attorneys, we couldn't, when I was in private practice, we couldn't take cash from a certain amount of cash. If it was over a certain amount of cash from clients, right? You're not allowed to take a certain amount of cash. But any information that you have, Ed, and if you don't, then...
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I actually spent a lot of time working in this area. It's a very good question. In terms of banks, here's how it works. There are two levels of reporting that a bank will do. The first is if you come in with cash in excess of $10,000, they are obligated to file a currency transaction report, a CTR, they call it. And these are filed with an entity called FinCEN, which is a unit of the Department of Treasury. And there's no discretion whatsoever. $10,000, they got to file. By the way, criminals try to get around this by going in with breaking up the $10,000. You do that and you get caught, that's a separate crime called spurfing. So that's one. The second is, and this is what may apply to your friend's parents, there is a report called a suspicious activity report, a SAR they call it. And those are discretionary, generally initiated by a teller or by a bank manager. And it's, as you would expect, is this suspicious? Does this cause me concern? and they get filed with FinCEN. And I can tell you, the U.S. Attorney's Office, along with our office, have a program where they literally go through that every month of specific suspicious activity reports that may or may not be investigatable or perhaps even prosecutable. So those are the bank reporting requirements. Now, whether a bank for a specific customer has concerns that that person is being ripped off or not, that is really come see, come saw. It turns really on the judgment and wisdom of the bank manager. I can tell you, I mentioned the pigeon drop schemes. We had one instance of a public official who will go absolutely unnamed, who was the subject of a pigeon drop scam, went to and I'll tell the bank, Bank of America, refused to do what this person wanted, and this person was saved from losing a very significant amount of money and was very grateful for it and was not happy with the bank manager at the time and let them know that. But nevertheless, it really is up to the wisdom of the bank manager. One would hope that, suspicious circumstances, they take some preventive steps. But that's sort of the layout of the law. Thank you.
Thank you. So before I take my seat, I was going to switch. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Our
Nikki
partner.
Greco with the Office of Council Member Jolene Ivey. And I run constituent services and get a lot of inquiries. And you were speaking about not just seniors, but the young adults are being scammed. Banks are protected with FDIC. Are there banks opening, like, I don't know if it's Chime or something? There's a bank that is not federally insured. And when you think of the young ones, all they do is order online items. Is there protection? Are you aware of banks opening where they can, it's all online, and they have their automatic checking, their jobs automatically deposited to it, and then they use that, of course, to shop? Is there anything heightened about these banks that are coming up that are not FDIC?
So I haven't heard about any non-FDIC insured banks, but there are cryptocurrency exchanges, and you can have exchanges where money is passing through them, and I don't believe
She can't hear you. The translator can't hear you.
Oh. So I don't know that I have heard anything about non-FDIC insured banks opening up, but I suspect that what we're talking about is actually more of a cryptocurrency exchange where somebody is working and being paid in cryptocurrency as opposed to actual currency, and that's not heavily regulated yet. That's still sort of a Wild West situation. And I would encourage everybody to take currency in payment for work as opposed to cryptocurrency. It's too unreliable at this point.
So I hope this portion has been helpful to you. It is, even though we weren't able to answer all of your specific questions, really what we want to leave you with is just be very cautious and don't be afraid to say no or be rude. I like that, Ed. It's okay to be rude and say, look, I said no, and hang up the phone or walk away or whatever it is. It is so sad to see people lose money that they have worked all of their lives for, really, and it is true victimization. So just wanted to make you aware And so the next time you get one of these strange messages, you think twice about what it is that you're receiving. Before I take my seat, I know it's time is moving by, and I have to leave soon, but I wanted to tell you that in our office, of course, we're focused, I want you to know, on gun violence. We're seeing far too many repeat offenders move through our system without appropriate consequences. And so I'm taking a look at what we might be able to do as it relates to not just gun violence, but the possession of guns. Because what I see happening is people, for whatever the reason, are choosing to carry illegal guns. And even though they're not, in some instances, intending to use those guns, they come upon a situation and there's a dispute. And guess what? I've got a gun on me. And so, you know, when folks used to fight with their fists, now they just are pulling their gun. And so we really want to emphasize that if you don't have any business carrying a gun, if you don't have permission to carry a gun, then you should not be carrying one. So that's one. The second is domestic violence offenses. Too many shootings and homicides related to domestic violence. And these are difficult cases, very difficult cases. And oftentimes, you know, they're in a couple of the last homicides that we've seen, the victim actually was able to get a protective order, and then she returned to the presence of the defendant. And you know, it's easy to lay blame. It is, but oftentimes, you know, these people involved have children together. One person may have the job, and so there are resources that are needed. And so I just want to highlight this for you for education purposes as well, because chances are somebody in this room knows someone who has been victimized and, you know, by a significant other or a partner. And we're just trying to educate victims and say to them, you know, look, if certain activity, if he puts his hands on you or she puts her hands on you in a certain way, you really, really need to think twice, 3 times, 4 times about whether or not you go into, and he or she is threatening you, whether or not you go back into that situation. And again, we know these situations when we see them, they make us feel real uncomfortable. And so we're going to try to partner more with the Family Justice Center in the county and try to get out more messaging around these situations. There was just a trial, and I'll say this quickly, just last week. Thankfully, the person was found guilty of first-degree murder, but he killed his child's mother, and the child was in the home. You know, it's so sad, so sad. And so we're really, really wanting to educate around domestic violence as well. Yes, ma'am. Yes, I don't think I can pull it that far, but.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm a resident of Cheverly. I bought a house in Cheverly in 1995. The value of the house when I bought it was $105,000. I never missed a payment except when Corona came and my mortgage company, they wrote me and tell me everybody has a 3 months grace. So you know it's hard, so you don't have to pay your mortgage for 3 months, and they would put the 3 months payment behind. Well, I was glad for the opportunity because I wasn't working at the time, and I took it. And when that time passed, my mortgage went up to even more than I bought the house for. I continued paying my mortgage, and my mortgage now is really, really sky high. And I have more than 30 years again to pay off for my mortgage. I don't know what to do. So I would like some advice, please, on this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm unable to give advice based on that, but I'm going to have somebody talk to you after the meeting just to ask a couple of key questions to see if there's something that we can do. I'm not sure if there is in the state's attorney's office, but I'll have somebody chat with you afterwards if that's okay.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Marilyn Piper.
Marilyn, Ms. Piper. Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Piper. And so I think that was the last, and then juvenile crime. You know, juvenile crime is also something I know we're going to have to focus on in our community. Children need to be held accountable. My 11-year-old son needs to be held accountable, right, when he does something wrong in the home. That's the only way you teach a child, in my opinion. And I'm all for rehabilitation, which is the goal of the juvenile system, but a part of rehabilitation is accountability. And it depends on, of course, the level of the crime. And so we're going to be taking a look. We're going to be meeting with the Department of Juvenile Services. We're going to be taking a look at appropriate diversion programs. But rest assured, we're also going to be, for those young people that choose to commit violent crimes in our community, we're going to be asking that they be held accountable for that, right? You cannot rob and kill and continue to do that and not be held accountable. And so that's a focus of mine as well. I so appreciate the time with you this afternoon. We are available. Mayor, if there are any, anything else you want the state's attorney's office in the future to come and talk with you about that's in our lane, I'm happy to do so. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, great. Thank you so much for coming. I did want to acknowledge Alexis Felix had a question online that we'll give to the team to take back, and it was about collecting money from an online employer who didn't pay me for services. So it sounds like a wage theft question, and I'll give that to you guys to take with you. But thank you all for attending. Thank you, Mr. Galloway, Ms. Richards, Ms. Abdul, Mr. Cardenas, and others for making this event happen here at the Town Hall. And of course, thank you to the entire team. And do not be a stranger to Cheverly. Please come back early and often.